Welcome to Red Story. Subscribe to my channel if you really enjoy my stories. Today's first story comes from a throwaway account who asks, "Am I the arsehole for telling my son I was disappointed after he and his wife lied about my grandson's birth date? My son, 23, and his wife just had a baby boy. Everyone is overjoyed and excited, but there have been some issues that have risen recently. When my daughter-in-law was pregnant, I suggested that I host a welcoming party for my grandson right after she gets discharged from the hospital. I've made arrangements and even emptied a room for them to stay, but for some reason, she was against it and said she'd rather spend the first few weeks at home with her newborn. Not only that, but she said no to the welcoming party. My husband and I talked to my son, and he said, 'We'll see.' But just a couple of days ago, we found out that my daughter-in-law had given birth 2 weeks ago, and no one knew about it. My nephew told me, and I immediately called my son. He confirmed it. He and his wife lied and hid the date of the birth from the family. I told him this was not acceptable, lying just because they didn't want a welcoming party and love and support being given from family. I told him I was disappointed because, for one, he ruined our welcoming for our grandbaby, and also I invited family members, and they were all rightfully disappointed as well. He said it was his last resort after I kept pushing and made his wife uncomfortable, but that was not appreciated because we were just trying to celebrate the new family member in a proper manner. We had an argument, and he ended the call upon saying I ruined his joy for his newborn. My husband started texting him since he stopped replying to our phone calls, and now is threatening to block my nephew for tattling. But I think that my nephew was decent enough to inform the family. Otherwise, God knows how long my son and his wife were going to hide their son, just to keep us at arm's length. We've always been kind and welcoming to my daughter-in-law and her family. I don't get why she would do this and disrespect the family like that. On the other hand, some family members see it as a justified action because we insisted on the party. P.S. Some folks, I'd appreciate it if you leave my nephew, male 24, out of this conflict because he's not part of it." Now this is going to be a very simple "you're the arsehole" from my perspective. This baby isn't yours. They get to decide how they welcome the baby, and clearly you were overstepping in this matter, and that's why they felt the need to hide the baby from you. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done so. The fact that you felt the need to throw this party sounds like you didn't give them much of a choice. You were steamrolling their decisions because it was the proper manner. No, the proper manner is what they decide to do with their child and how they would like to introduce it to the family. I mean, maybe some people would like it, but a welcoming party as soon as you get discharged from the hospital? My word, sounds like way too much from my perspective, but we're going to check out a couple of those comments to see what they say. Impossible Pause 3788 says, "Welcoming party is a nice way of saying exposing a newborn to all sorts of diseases during a pandemic." Then goes on to say, "You're the asshole always and forever. You are not entitled to put this child in danger." Jack says, "You're the asshole. It's not about you." Also in quotes, "She was against it and said she'd rather spend the first few weeks at home with her newborn. Not only that, but she said no to the welcoming party. My husband and I talked to my son, and he said, 'We'll see.' Then goes on to say, 'Mom said no, so you went behind her back to your son, which is disrespectful and insensitive to her wishes.' And he clearly wasn't on board either. It sounds like they felt pressured into lying about it after you were so insistent on the party. Also again, in quotes, 'He ruined our welcoming for our grandbaby.' Then goes on to say, 'Wrong. You ruined the welcoming for him and his wife. You should feel horrible for that and for putting them into that position to begin with.' B. Stings replies to that one saying, 'They obviously pushed it so hard that son and daughter-in-law were convinced they would just be there waiting at the house when they got home from the hospital. Alpi needs to work on respect and boundaries if she ever wants to have a close relationship with her grandson, and will have to get used to a lot of disappointment if they continue their arsehole behavior." Alternative Vicho 994 says, "You're the arsehole. I can see why they didn't tell you." Judge Judd Am I the Arsehole says, "You're the arsehole," and quotes, He said it was his last resort after I kept pushing and made his wife uncomfortable. But that was not appreciated because we were just trying to celebrate the new family member in a proper manner. Then goes on to say, the only people who decide the proper manner to celebrate the new family member are the parents. Once you pushed after a first refusal, you were making it about you, not the parents and not the baby. And one more from my 1962 Michael, who says, you're the arsehole. The baby isn't yours. I mean, technically you are free to be disappointed. And it's fine that you told your son about your disappointment, but you're the arsehole for insisting on a party that's clearly not what the parents wanted. You invited family members even though the mother never agreed to the party. And after she said no, you still went back and tried to pressure your son. Who gives a flying hoot if they are disappointed? That's on you for overstepping in the first place. There was a couple of replies from OP to some of the comments, but they were literally just doubling down on what she said initially, that they weren't asking for much, is one of her quotes, and the son is just playing along to the daughter's needs kind of thing. Almost like they're irrelevant. Crazy stuff. Now, what do you guys make of our first story? How would you react if this happened to you? If you'd just given birth, come out of the hospital, and you were expected to be at this party? My word. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to another story. Our next story comes from another throwaway account who says, am I the asshole for exposing my mom and sister? Okay, so I, female 14, have a sister, female 16, who I'll call S. She constantly steals from me and messes up my things. I've tried talking to my parents about it, but they shrug it off and say that sisters do things like that. It's gotten so bad that I have to hide or move valuable items out of the house in fear that she'll break or steal them. 3 weeks ago, I received money from my aunt and friend for my birthday. I was excited because I've wanted AirPods for a while now, and I finally had enough money to get them. I kept the money in a box and put it in my drawer. About a week ago, I wanted to go to the gas station, so I went to get the money. But when I checked, it wasn't there. I went and asked my mom if she had seen it, to which she replied yes. She told me that my sister went snooping in my room, wanted the money, and my mom didn't have the heart to say no, so she let her take it. I went to my sister's room and demanded she give me my money back. She told me that she already spent it, and that I should have hidden it better if I didn't want it stolen. I was livid. I stormed to my room and stayed there for the rest of the day. 2 days ago, while out shopping with my aunt, she asked if I had gotten the AirPods that I had been wanting. I told her no, and that Mom allowed S to take the money I was going to use to buy them. My aunt was furious and called my mom, confronting her about it. My aunt berated my mom and said I could stay the night with her. When I got home to pack my things, Mom was furious and threw money at me, asking if I was happy now that I made S feel bad. I ignored her, grabbed my things, and left. While at my aunt's place, I received many nasty texts from family members saying I was in the wrong. My dad told me that he didn't agree with what my mom and S did, but I didn't have to expose them to my aunt. I've been feeling extremely guilty, and I've been wondering if I was in the wrong. So, am I the arsehole? This is so infuriating, this one. The fact that your mom said, she didn't have the heart to say no and let her take it, and let her enable this bad behavior and become even more of a bad person. Your sister isn't going to change when she has parents enabling her like this, and things aren't going to get better for you. The way that your mom reacted when she got put in her place wasn't to turn around and say sorry. She threw the money at you and asked you if you were happy now and that you made S feel bad, rather than you, who was the one who was wronged in this situation. Get an apology. And I would speak to your aunt about if more things like this go on in the future, because she sounds like a bit of a legend, to be quite honest, and someone that you can actually rely on, an adult in your life that you may be able to rely on. As I always say, when we see stories like this, we've seen them time and time again on these subreddits, and they never end well in the future when parents don't take responsibility for their own actions. It always seems to end up with likely the OP, 14 years old, when they get to the age that they will leave because their family just doesn't respect them. But Milky Way Real Estate says, not the arsehole. Your sister is a thief, and both your parents are enablers. I'm glad you have an adult who is treating you well. Laramila says in quotes, my sister went snooping in my room and wanted the money, and my mom didn't have the heart to say no. Then says, I'm at a loss for words as to how much of a hole your mother is, not the arsehole. If they didn't want to get yelled at for it, they shouldn't have done it. Diaz says, not the arsehole. Good for you that your aunt has taken you in. Your mom has clearly a favorite daughter, and sadly, it's not you. As long as your sister doesn't learn boundaries from your mom, she's going to continue, and surely will have it hard in life when she has to learn she doesn't get everything she wants, and there are actually consequences for her behavior. Your father knew of the behavior of S before and hasn't done anything. I bet he wouldn't have done something now. Again, he can't stand up to your mother, and exposing his behavior was the only thing you could do. And one more from Radio Face 9779, who says, not the arsehole. Your mom and sister just came in tied for first arsehole of the day. Your sister knew how you got birthday money, searched for it, and your mom allowed her to just take it. Also, your dad needs to search through their stuff to find his balls. You had every right to tell your awesome aunt the truth, and she'll be rewarded for your honesty. If I were your aunt, I would buy your AirPods and tell Esh she can consider the theft her next birthday and Christmas presents. Now I turn this one to you guys. I don't think it could be any other way, but how would you advise OP to deal with this situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to another story. Our next story comes from Throwaway 528,272, who says, am I the arsehole for making a harmless joke about my daughter's acne? Oh dear, dear, dear. This happened a few days ago. I, 43 male, have a daughter, 16 female, who is obviously going through puberty, and just like any other teen, she has seen a lot of changes in her body, most recently acne on her face and arms. I try to be supportive of her, and I've bought her special soaps and creams to help her control it, although I haven't seen much difference, or I don't think they really help that much. Anyways, the other day at the dining table, she was complaining to her mother about how the soaps I have bought haven't been working on her, and that she's feeling very uncomfortable. So she asked if we could take her to the dermatologist to help with her acne. I then told her that she should just befriend the pimples since nothing she has been doing has helped, and they just wanted to be a part of her. All in a very sarcastic tone. I thought my daughter and wife would take it as it is, but they both got really mad at me. My daughter stormed to her bedroom, and my wife started scolding me, telling me I was a bad father while also telling me to apologize to her, since those comments can really affect her. I told them I was just joking, that they should stop being party poopers and killing the mood. My daughter hasn't talked to me since that day, and my wife thinks I'm a huge arsehole for what I did, and only talks to tell me to apologize. So am I the arsehole for making a harmless joke? And there is an edit where OP replies to the comments, so we will cover that in a moment. And I have a semi-relatable story to this one as well. When I was about 15 years old, I suffered badly with acne on my face and across my shoulders. I wasn't aware of dermatologists at the time, but I tried many different creams and things like that to try and stop it. All pretty unsuccessful. So, I just went through it and had acne until I was about 21. And it would especially flare up when I would eat. I think anyway, when I would eat chocolate. When I went into one of my first jobs around age 17, I remember a couple of coworkers at the time who would comment on my acne. I was a very quiet person back then as well, but very shy at the same time. I'm not so shy anymore, but I was super shy back then and would just say hi to people and wouldn't say much else. I remember one guy who called me pizza face for the acne on my face, and it absolutely destroyed me. Stupidly, I didn't do anything about it at the time, just very new to the whole workplace and what to do, so I just sort of chuckled along with him and went about my business. But I can remember how much it hurt. Someone criticizing a skin condition like that, not having empathy for someone else who's going through something that affects their face. How can you not think about someone in that way, just taking the mickey out of them, rather than thinking about what that person is going through, what they think, and they're probably really embarrassed and self-conscious about this. Having gone through bullying and this particular scenario, it makes you think about life, and it makes you think about what someone else is going through. They may look happy on the outside, but internally, how are they feeling? You never know. But anyway, I'm going off on one. I don't think, from the limited text we have here, I don't think you're a bad father. You've tried to be supportive. You're trying to get creams. You're trying as much as you can. I think you've just made an absolute burk of yourself in this situation, but I think you can correct that and hopefully learn a mistake on the way. We all make mistakes, and I think you could learn a lesson in empathy towards what your daughter's going through. I mean, you've come to this subreddit to ask the question, so hopefully you will learn from it too. But anyway, absolutely you're going to be the arsehole to me in this situation. Sort yourself out. But Shoot Your Eye Out says in quotes, a harmless joke about my daughter's acne. Then goes on to say, you're the arsehole. Seriously, puberty is hard enough without some insensitive arse joking about your acne. Don't do that. May Drama says, yeah, of course, you're the arsehole. She's insecure about having trouble with her appearance, and what do? Decide that a joke would be appropriate. She's clearly sensitive about the acne and asking for help, so why poke fun at that? How insensitive of you. This is why children have trouble coming to their parents with their insecurities, because they joke about them and treat the insecurity as less than. It's really sad that you're wondering if you should apologize or not. If someone's feelings get hurt, there's nothing harmless about the joke. Embarrassed Hat 2904 says, you're the arsehole. There is no harmless joke about a skin condition. She's feeling insecure enough without having her father pile on her and make her feel worse. And you really called them party poopers for not thinking it's funny for you making a joke about your daughter's skin. You really are the arsehole. And we'll find some comments from the other side as well. One from Never Really, who says, all right, let's all calm down here. We weren't there. The joke might have been funny. Regardless, it's a joke. And it wasn't that bad. And she's a teen. She overreacted. She's upset now. And you are her father. And you made her upset. So you have to apologize to her and make it all better. Just don't make more egging jokes, I guess. But no, you're not an arsehole for it. You made a joke and comment that was taken the wrong way. It happens all the time. Asking Reddit if your joke that was taken the wrong way makes you the arsehole is just asking people to call you a bad person. Fantastave1 says, to hell with sanctimonious scolding. OP. Your wife was way over the line for calling you a bad father. You cracked a harmless joke, and it didn't go over well. It happened. Clearly, your daughter is more sensitive about it than you thought. Just apologize and explain you meant no harm by it, and bring her to a dermatologist to try and alleviate her worries. But no way you're the arsehole for this. Making a small mistake doesn't make you an arsehole, and your response to defend yourself is only human, given the disproportionate response you received. Your teenager can be forgiven for that, but your wife crossed a line calling you a bad father over something small as that. And one comment with a bit of useful information. Aunt All Day says, please read me if you love your daughter, 20 female who suffered horrible acne, no matter what I did. Sometimes it's diet, sometimes it's just puberty. Before you two speak to a dermatologist, they can be real expensive real quick. Get the Bior Charcoal Exfoliating Bar. It can be used on face and body parts. Exfoliation is sometimes just what someone needs in their skincare routine. I also recommend a body scrub that doesn't include acne medication. I like Tree Hut. These are inexpensive and last a while. Try the Bio Exfoliating Bar and a good toner. I recommend Ordinary from Ulta or Target. The Bio is in Walmart, CVS, and you can find all of these online. I recommend she try a skin routine for 30 days and then go to a dermatologist. Apologize for the joke. She's insecure, but that's life. You weren't trying to be malicious. I read it as a dad joke. Acknowledge that you hurt her feelings and listen to how she feels. Apologize and listen. Make sure you don't target another insecurity and maybe share a bond of skincare mask night. Could be fun. Bond over a movie or show. That's my rant, but listen to my recommendations. But now we're going to move on to the edit to see what happened next. So the edit says, after reading all of the comments nonstop for about an hour, I want to apologize to anyone that felt offended because of my actions, or because they remembered a sad time in their lives. I want to say that I will apologize to my daughter and wife, and I will be more supportive next time with my daughter since we're all different, and not because I, a grown man, can withstand criticism. It means she can do it. I will be more supportive of her, and I will for sure seek professional help to fix her problem. I can see not everyone appreciates my way of thinking, and I will also avoid making comments that might hurt my loved ones. Thank you, Reddit, for giving me that lecture. I really needed it, and I'm deeply sorry. And I think sometimes that's what it's all about. I'm very glad OP did come in to edit that post and, say all that stuff because it's nice to hear when someone's going to make a change for the positive. Sometimes I think it's very easy for us to come into these subreddits, make the comments on them, almost like, the marriage is going to be over, the relationship with the daughter's ruined, and everything's on fire when it can be fixed. A bit of communication, a bit of empathy towards someone else, and potentially they can solve it together. And it's always nice to hear at the end of the story sometimes. Anyway, as usual, I'm going off on one. I do apologize. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, I would love to hear them. And just a huge thank you for spending your time with me today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, support, and time always mean the world to me. So thank you so much for getting involved, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.